Hello YouTubers, I think this camera is on. It's so sunny I can't even tell if the red light's on. That's how sunny it is out here. Springtime is here, friend. Springtime is here. And in my opinion, it's rapture and resurrection time. I remember working with a guy who had an open vision of the rapture. And he saw himself going up and up and up and up and up. And this wasn't a dream. And we were talking about his vision. And he explained to me that he saw spring clouds. So I thought that was really interesting. You know, he was very dogmatic about it. They were spring clouds. So, you know, springtime in the northern hemisphere, which is connected to Israel, is the only season out of the four seasons that there's no death. There's just life and resurrection. So we are in that season, and I would just be ready at any moment. I really would, you know. Okay. Well, they got this real idea. I don't fly, but I was talking to a person that did. I was just kind of proud, and I said, you know, what is this real ID? And he said, well, you got to go online, and I think it's realid.com or something like that. I don't know. What will they think of next? And you got to apply, and then go, and then present six forms of ID. I said, okay. It didn't hit me right away, but I said 6 forms of ID, and it just dawned on me. Okay, 6. Just look for these clues, friend. I mean, you know, who thinks of this stuff? Real, you know what I'm saying? Who thinks of this stuff? But they do. They do. Okay, well, you know, Trump gave Iran till May 1st. That's why I say April or May is a very good time for the rapture. It's very ideal, you know. So we got in my description box, I'll put proof of a 2025 rapture and 70th week of Daniel. I like these particular 2 videos because the guy gave it about a year and a half ago, so it adds more credence to it. 33 AD is not a good candidate for Jesus to have died because the Passover was a Friday, and there was not a blood moon in 33 AD. There was a blood moon in 32 AD on Passover. So that is perfect, you know. And you add 2,000 years to that. You know, sometimes when I do these videos, I don't feel I can get a break, you know. Try to do a video before this, and the transportation vehicle decides that he wants to beep his horn for a minute, 1 minute straight. So I was almost done the video. Then, you know, beep, 1 minute straight, 1 minute straight. Okay, I wanted to go over. There are rapture channels that talk about the rapture, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there's a trend where people are getting rapture dreams, and Jesus is saying, I am coming, or I'm coming, or some kind of variation to I'm coming, ready or not. You know, I mean, a lot of different variations of that. That tells me he's just about to come. So, you know, Trump, he put Elon Musk in the cabinet. He's all about the mark of the beast. Trump's very involved with CERN. Well, with CERN, they want to change time and space, and you know God's not going to allow that. And then he's very involved with Stargate, and Stargate is Mr. Mark of the Beast himself. So these people are really moving the Mark of the Beast. They're preparing for the Antichrist, and so is the Ezekiel 38 crowd. For the first time, I've seen them line up together, and they are really chummy now. And to boot, Turkey, which is one of the main players that's going to go down with Russia, they got a huge earthquake and a hailstorm, so they're very confused over there. They're very upset, and they're very desperate. So, and I have thought for years that the rapture would happen after Ezekiel 38 and before Ezekiel 39, all the while still holding to a pre-trib rapture position. So that could happen this spring, friend. I mean, I proposed in other videos that all the feast days were fulfilled, and I explained how. So all we really need to do is figure out when the 70th week of Daniel runs from. Is it spring to spring, or is it fall to fall? And as an amateur, as I listen to the experts who don't always agree, I had to side with the spring crowd, because they gave more reasons. But I explained that in other videos. So, and God seems to be touching me with the spring. I oftentimes ask, Lord, is this it? Are you coming in the spring? And I seem to get positive affirmations from God, when I ask this question. And friend, the military copters over our head are just insane. I mean, I was at my place. This is not my place. This is, I can't do my videos or podcast at my house anymore because I lost half my home to a very big tree. Okay, so, and at the rate that these people are going, including the settlement, it takes these people forever. So here I'm at somebody else's house doing a podcast, and if a transportation vehicle does come by, I might have to stop for about 5 to 10 seconds. But anyway, 4 went over my head in a time span of a half an hour. So something really must be going on. And there was that 7-year ceasefire agreement with Israel, Gaza, and Palestine. And I'm not saying that's the covenant of Daniel 9:27, but it's interesting that the past couple of months I've heard 7 years a lot. Bill Clinton was involved in a 7-year treaty. Saudi Arabia was. So it won't take much for all these quote unquote treaties or covenants to come together within a couple of hours. That's all it would take for the world, just a couple of hours. Just bring them all together, So I heard years ago from a friend of mine who literally, and this was very fascinating to me, I don't know how this came about, but she described to me that Jesus gave her a personal lesson about all the popes on a blackboard. I never had any kind of experience like that. And it was a little different than the Malachi prophecy. The Malachi prophecy was pretty accurate, but my friend was more accurate, because I asked, this current pope, well, Pope Francis died, but will he be the last pope? And she clearly said, no, he will be the second to last pope. So I said, oh, okay, the second to last pope. So it's happening, friend. I mean, he died, and Schwab left, and Harari, who's a very young, ambitious guy, I heard he was even worse than Schwab. He's determined to maybe make a name for himself, or enforce this whole biometric system, mark of the beast, Revelation chapter 13. I remember working for an outfit, a big outfit, and I don't really want to mention the outfit because I don't want to paint anybody in a bad light. I never really want to do that. Although I'm not without opinion, but they used to put a brutal boss over us. When I say brutal, I'm talking brutal. And when they really wanted to get something done, they would take that brutal boss off the floor and they would put an even more ruthless boss in there. And guess what? It usually worked. Because, see, these people had the doctrine of fear. So it usually worked. And that's what's happening with the World Economic Forum. This guy's young, he's ambitious. I heard he's even worse than the other guy. So look for this to move really fast. I would be ready for the rapture of the church at any moment. I really would. Everybody seems to want World War III, friend, including Zelensky, who seems to be one of the biggest instigators for this World War III. And the Jews, they are expecting their Messiah in Nisan. You might as well say that's right around the April area. I don't know if that will happen, but it's interesting that they're expecting him to come that soon. And we're definitely headed towards a supply shortage with all these tariffs. It hasn't per se hit now, but it will. The good news is the Bible says at the time of the rapture, people will be buying, selling, eating, drinking, marrying, giving into marriage. What else does it say? Farming, grinding at the mill. Just normal life. Building, planning, normal life. So we can't have too much time because of these tariffs. It's moving awful fast where we're going to have a supply shortage. In fact, if I were the leader, it's the one thing I wouldn't do. Yeah, it's the one thing I would not do. But that's what they are doing. I noticed on an individual level that people tend to be changing their behavior. I'm going to let this go, this transportation vehicle. Okay. At least he didn't beep his horn for a minute. People are different now, but the biggest personality trait that I'm seeing is people are undependable. I'm just noticing an undependable nature about people. So if you can find somebody dependable within your family or friends, stick with that person. Stick with that person. They've got a rare trait in these last days. So they say they want to do an attack on Iran's missiles or nukes in May. And China's warning other countries that, one, they will back Iran and Russia. Two, they're warning other countries not to do business with the U.S. and vice versa. The U.S. is warning not to do business with China. So there's a real war here. It's already started. World War III is being set up, and everything is being set up for the biometric engineering under the skin. And these markets are tipsy-turvy. China won't even buy natural gas from the U.S. Um, I mean, I think they even sanctioned the U.S. Congress, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, so what are these elites trying to do? They're trying to stop the global chain, and they want the death of the dollar. That's the bottom line. They have to get the mark of the beast system out, the rise of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast system. They have to bring about a digital system, which is planned. It's very planned. And I know that all these countries are buying gold. That's why it went up. At one point, it went up to $3,500. But they may want to read James chapter 5, if you know what I mean. The UAU is pushing the artificial intelligence. The Russian sanctions are severe. We are in World War III now. So you see all this setup. Let's say, for example, there's 30 elites in the world that run the world, run planet Earth. Let's just say one of them got a flinch of conscience, like, this is wrong. I don't really want to do this. Why do we got to do? Did you know that person wouldn't have a chance in stopping this huge freight train that's going about 5,000 miles an hour? There's no way that person is even going to be able to stop it. And I don't see any evidence that there's even one elite that wants to stop it. So, I mean, and just to get back to World War III, China makes a lot of the technology, so they got a lot of back doors to this technology. This is a very dangerous time that we live in. And I know a lot of the watchers are hanging on by a thread. Just remember, Jesus said to the Philadelphia church, I know you have but a little strength. So just rely upon the strength of Jesus Christ. I can't stress that enough. And if you don't know the Lord, you need to come to know Jesus Christ in a very personal way, and he will give you his strength by accepting him into your heart. So I don't know if I mean, I'm not going to ramble on too much longer, but everything's being set up, friend. China now wants their own money instead of the U.S. dollar for their trade. So I'm going to let this transportation vehicle go. Yeah, that's right. And that's China was a huge customer. They now want their own money instead of the U.S. dollar. I don't even think they're even going to think about dealing with the U.S. dollar anymore. So if you do not think that there's a one world order coming, you got to think again. So when does this one world order come? At the time of the rapture of the church, which takes place at a time of normal, which is running out. Normal's running out, okay? That's why I know the rapture is, in generic terms, that's why I know the rapture is very close. Normal is running out. So that's when it happens, right after the rapture of the church. But it's being set up now. So look at the signs now, All right, friend, listen, I'm not going to ramble on, but God bless you, and keep looking up.